Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Mm.
You're welcome to this mentorship session, Gypsy Mentorship and Internship Program. This is a program that started last year, but started like in a really small way, but we decided to expand it this year. So, Gypsy Mentorship and Internship Program came as a result of how I started as a legal practitioner and how it was for me. So, when I started and I decided to go into intellectual property, it wasn't so easy for me because I didn't really have people to talk to. And so I had to learn everything by myself, most things by myself, watching YouTube, reading articles, textbooks, etc. And so I thought about it that it would be good for others that are coming into this field to have like senior brothers and senior sisters in the profession that they can listen to and ask their questions. And so that's the reason why I decided that it'd be good for us to start this. And so the focus of this is for young lawyers and students. So for this first quarter, we had 7 students and 7 mentees, sorry, and 6 of them will be graduating today from this particular session. The way we carried this out was one, we actually asked every mentee to submit assignments weekly, 1 page assignment on any topic that they decide to choose. And so some chose e-commerce, fashion, cyber law, etc. And the mentors were here to listen to them, to commend them, to expand their views, and also to correct and to applaud them. For this first quarter, we had 10 mentors. Some came as guest lecturers to lecture on specific topics like sports law, ADR, fashion law, entertainment law, music law, etc. While Mr. Max and Mr. Folarin were like the backbone of this first edition because they actually came for almost all the episodes and they were able to lend their voice to explain everything that went on here and to explain their submissions and their assignments. So I would like to thank the mentors, I would like to thank the mentees, and I would like to thank our keynote speaker that is here, Mr. Mundi, and he's looking really good in his African attire. So I'm going to admit so you can also, yes. So and thank you so much, Maria. Thank you for taking us on alternative dispute resolution for that's with WIPO. And I was not around when she took the course, but I was able to look at the slides and everything, and she was able to pass across the way that alternative dispute resolution can be handled from the WIPO's perspective. So I'll be calling on some of the mentees that are here to just give a 3 to 5 minutes talk on how the program was and what the future is like for them. So I'll be starting with Bernice because she was the first person to join us today. Hi, Bernice.
Hello, Christina. Hello, everybody. My name is Bernice Tassen. I'm so glad to have been part of this mentorship program. Before coming for this program, I had a doubt as to whether I wanted to specialize as a young lawyer because in my mind, IP was too narrow to just specialize in. But looking at how far we have come from the beginning of the program to now, I can say that it is possible to have a successful and profitable practice in this field. At the beginning of this program, I actually said that I was going to start up my own practice. So I launched my own firm. We specialize in business law and IP on the 1st of March 2021. So, that's all thanks to everything we've learned here, the motivation, the grooming, and the teachings. Thank you, Mr. Max and Mr. Folarin, for the experience and the knowledge, and every mentor that came to teach us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Bernice. Thank you
Yes.
so much. So I usually see your post online and I see that you are very active. So
Yes.
I'm happy that you've been able to take a lot of the things that we've taught here and you're implementing it practically on your day-to-day business.
Yeah.
Thank you, Venice. And
Thank you.
I'm happy that you came and I'm going to miss you.
And thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. So let's call Christina. Hi, Christina. Hi, Christina. Okay. If Christina is not ready, then we can call on Clarice. So I'm asking you to unmute yourself. Yes, Clarice.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Clarice.
I'm Clarice Mideva. I'm from Kenya. Um, First of all, I just want to thank Mrs. Juliana for organizing this amazing mentorship scheme. And I want to also thank the mentors for all the time and the effort that they have put to for our development in the field of IP. And just like Bernice, for me, not opening my own firm, but I took a position as an IP consultant in one of the leading intellectual property firms. And whatever I learned here is really helping me in doing my job. So I'm so grateful for everything that I've learned from Mr. Folarin, Mr. Max, Maria, Ms. Udwak, everyone involved. I'm grateful and I'm thankful that I got a chance to actually participate in this mentorship. Thank you.
Thank you, Clarice. And I would like to point out that Clarice is very she has a way of submitting her assignments on time. If she'll be missing a class, she would send a message. She's very articulate and she's able to pass across her message to in a very good way. And I like the fact that she was very consistent from the beginning to the end. So thank you, Clarice. I would also miss you. So let's okay. Christina is here. So let's hear from Christina. Hi, Christina.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I just want to, when I started this program, I never had any experience of IP. So when I started, and I remember my first day, I didn't do my assignment because I don't even know what to do. I remember Mr. Max giving his experience that when he left law school, he does not know anything about IP, and most times when I hear him talk, it sounds like he knows everything. Him and Mr. Folari, they both sounds like anything you ask them, they must know the answer. So I'm really glad to be part of this program, and I really learned a lot, and I'm improving myself and doing a lot of things on IP now. I want to thank Juliana. I want to thank all our mentors. I want to thank the mentees as well. I've learned from their presentations as well. This has really been a very great experience for me, and I'm looking forward to making use of this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. It's so good to see your face. Like most of the mentees hid their faces, so I didn't see them throughout the program. So I'm seeing them for the first time. So thank you for showing me your face. I'm so grateful, and I like the way you speak softly and very calming, very how do I put it? Your voice has a calming effect. So I would also miss you. Take care of yourself also. So I'll be calling on Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Okay, so you can just unmute yourself. Yes. We can't hear you. Maybe you log off. No. Maybe you log out and then you log back in. maybe we would hear you then. Okay, so let me call Daniel. Hi, Daniel. Okay. Yes, Daniel. Okay.
Good afternoon, man, to all our dignitaries present and to my fellow mentees. Uh, for me, actually a great privilege to actually be part of this internship program. And how I actually got to know about the internship program was somehow, how I put it, but let me use the word funny because I think I was in um, an ABA conference, ABA YLF conference. And then Mr. Max was one of the speakers, one of the panelists. So he was talking about IP. But prior to that meeting, I had taken a course, but just preliminary in IP. So I had just, how will I put it, my knowledge in intellectual property was shallow. Let me use that word. So then Mr. Max was talking about IP, and let me use the word, I was blown away that there are knowledgeable lawyers in Africa or in Nigeria that really have deep knowledge about IP. So I asked a question. Then I asked him that how I was know about intellectual property. So then I think he responded and talked about this internship. Then I further made inquiries and he told me on how I would contact Mrs. Imam. So then I think I contacted her on LinkedIn and she was gracious enough to respond to me. I was almost scared that she might not respond and stuff like that. But she was gracious enough to respond to me. I think she even asked me if I would prefer to join the next session or I'll just join this one. And I think I elected to join. And obviously, for me, it has been worth it. I can say that the knowledge I've acquired in IP, in fact, now I almost see IP in everything. So, because the knowledge I've acquired in this training from the lectures from different mentors, contributions from Mr. Lane, I mean, Mr. Max, it's at no fee. It's just for me. I'm trying to find the right word for me. It's not only motivating. It's just I actually can't find the right word to describe it, but I'm just very grateful because now I can say yes, I have some knowledge about IP. In fact, yesterday I was thinking of what I'm going to do with the knowledge I've acquired so far. Before, prior to this time, this is my first year of practicing. So prior to this time, I've never really thought about it. But now I can say yes, I really want to make a career of IP. I want to I want to go deep into IP. I'm even thinking of even pursuing a master's, if possible, in intellectual property. I mean, and create contexts on intellectual property, take up more courses. I think yesterday or this week, I also registered for another course with WIPO on intellectual property. So, um, yeah, so for me, going forward, I would love to create content with intellectual property, rights on intellectual property, look at taking up more courses on intellectual property, maybe in the future, maybe write a book, but also orientate, yes, also orientate others on intellectual property. I think I know quite a number of businesses that even quite not recently, a friend, a fellow young lawyer like myself had been seeking advice from me on intellectual property, especially on trademark. It's just that I've not started billing him because he's just like he's a colleague. So, but I mean, so these are what I think I would love to do with intellectual property. Take more courses, orientate others, possibly even in my church. I was thinking yesterday. I know quite a number of people who have businesses and who do not know about intellectual property. Perhaps I could, one of this give a talk on intellectual property, and I'll take it off from there. So thank you, Mrs. Imam. Thank you for this initiative. Seriously, I really wish you could. There's a way it can be expanded beyond 5 slots. I've told some friends, and I know that I don't know. I know we cannot repay you in words, in kind, but it's just my prayer that you would this initiative will go in leaps and bounds, and you go higher and higher. And thank you to all our mentors who have taken time from their busy and tight schedule, Mr. Folarin, Mr. Max. Your contributions have every time I after our session, I always go back and I glance through what we learned, and for me it keeps broadening my horizon of knowledge in intellectual property. So thank you so much, man, for this initiative. I'm very grateful. And to our external
Thank you.
mentors
Thank you.
who have been coming to mentor us on different areas. I never knew of domain names until Mrs. Miss, if I hope I'm cover from the panel of lecturers talked about it, and repo arbitration and mutation. I never knew of that until there's some stuff I never knew of intellectual property until we discuss, and even from um, assignments from fellow mentees too. There's some stuff I never knew of film law, stuff on film law, fashion law until it was discussed on this platform. Even although I was not there, but when I went back listening to the video by Mr. Ere Dumare on music law, I also learned a whole lot of them. It's so I mean it's they were so motivating. Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. And I'm sure that everybody saw what just happened. Like when we first started, I was like, submit a page assignment and all that. But Daniel would submit 2 pages. He always went beyond what was required. And so today I gave them 3 to 5 minutes and he also went beyond because he always tries to do exceedingly abundantly. Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you
Thank
for this passionate talk or speech. Thank you. So we'll be hearing
thank
from
thank you, man.
Michelle. Hi, Michelle. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Try to check your device. Maybe it's your device. Try to check it and then send me a private message. I'll put you back. Okay. Okay. So I'll be calling on our keynote speaker for today,
Okay,
Mr.
can
Mo.
you? Sorry.
Okay, yes, 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 yes. Yes, we can hear you. We can hear
Okay.
you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good
I'm so sorry.
evening.
I was going to try and get headphones, but I think maybe something was on my. Okay. Good evening to all my fellow mentees. Good evening, Mrs. Juliana, and good evening to all facilitators, mentors, and everyone present. First, I'm going to start from the beginning. Last year, when I first got in contact with Mrs. Juliana, I was at home, as maybe a lot of people were, and I had planned how the year would go after this. After I finish my exams, oh, I'll go and do this internship, then I'll do this internship, then I'll work here, and I'll go some just. And then COVID came and just scattered everything, as I'm sure it did for everybody. So I was looking on, I think it was on LinkedIn, for IP firms or firms that are interested in intellectual property. And I saw hers on LinkedIn. I saw her and I got her. I don't know if it was her email I got, yes. And then I sent her an email and I didn't get a reply for a while. So I just said, okay, maybe nothing is going to happen from, but she replied me and I was so surprised about how welcoming she was. Like I said it already to her, but I had never encountered somebody like her before. Apart from, I would say, maybe my IP teacher, who was, when I was doing my project, she was my project manager, so she was helping me a lot. But I never encountered somebody that was so welcoming like Mrs. Juliana. And we were having our meetings, I believe, every Friday, yes, 1 p.m. I was looking forward to it because it was my time to just not be at home, not doing nothing. So I really, really appreciate her for that. I am very, very grateful, Mrs. Juliana. The time, in fact, I don't, just like Daniel said, the words are there, but they're not coming out. I am so grateful to all our mentors. Like he said as well, you did not have to do this. That's just the truth. Even Mrs. Juliana did not have to do this, but she did. She would send us reminder emails. She would send us reminders on the WhatsApp group. She would ask for, if you can't, maybe you forgot to submit your report. She would be so kind and And in fact, you should even make you feel
You
you
should
had
make me
to.
cry here. Oh.
You had to. But I'm grateful to all of you that have answered our questions, that have given us advice and counsel. I think the most impactful thing I have taken from these 11 weeks is just to not focus, because before I started the internship, I was so focused on IP. I think I was over obsessed. I don't know if that's a word, but I was over obsessed with finding a niche. Okay, what am I good at? What would I like? What would I? But now I've realized, even down to week 11, when Miss Uduak spoke, that you need the knowledge from every single aspect of law, so that I should not just say, oh, IP, 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 and then dive into IP. And then when I need to answer questions about any other aspect, then I can't. So I think that's the most important thing I have taken from this internship program, is that yes, I'm interested in IP, and yes, I should study about it, and yes, I should continue to drive my interest, but I shouldn't be so into IP too much that I discard other areas of law, and then when it is I am required to answer questions on such, maybe okay, anyhow, but when I'm required to answer questions on those other areas, then maybe I'm saying, oh, I'm an IP lawyer, and then I'm doing. So yes, I'm so grateful for that. A lot of our mentors mentioned that, a lot of them, and then I was like, okay, then definitely there's something with this. Yes, be interested in IP, but then there are also other areas as well, other areas that you studied in school that you should look at, contracts, other areas as well. I'm so grateful to Mrs. Juliana. I'm so grateful to all our mentors, Mr. Fulani, Mr. Max, who were there, if not every week, but at almost every week. And I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michelle. Michelle is very special to me because she's the person that, would I say, uh, made me see that it was possible. Because I did it with her for, I think, 3 to 4 months. And I was like, if I can pour myself into one person, it will be possible to expand it and for other people to also benefit from this. So I would also say thank you to Michelle, because throughout the time when we had the first mentorship session that was just both of us, she was always on time. She always submitted her assignments on time. And whenever probably I forget, she would even reach out to me that, okay, it's time, let's do this and all that. So I want to thank you for your consistency and for wanting to make me cry in this place, but I refuse to cry. So thank you very much. So I'll be calling on our keynote speaker, Mr. Toby Moody. He's the person in charge of World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, for Nigeria. And I would like to say that if you think I'm nice, well, I think God has blessed me with nice people all around me. But if you think I'm nice, then I think you should talk to Mr. Moody because he's super nice. I also sent him an email. I think it was 2020 or 2019, and he replied, and right from then till now, he has been very nice and very helpful. And anything you want to know about IP from a national perspective, from an international perspective, he's the person to talk to. So um, he'll be coming up now and he'll be giving the keynote address. You're welcome, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, Juliana, and congratulations to everyone. First, I think I should say that's extremely generous of you, Juliana. And I just wish, after hearing all the other mentees go before me, I really wish I had been part of the mentorship classes as well, because I think it would have been a great opportunity to learn from all that they're talking about. Because truthfully, one of the great benefits that I'm sure that everyone on the call would agree with me is that mentoring plays an important role in building up our next generation. Even those of us who are currently taking the bull by the horn to engage in mentoring are also experiencing or reaching out in several ways for mentorship experiences. And the way we continue to grow and advance is by learning from those ahead of us. And so it's just to say a massive congratulations to you, Juliana. Thank you for taking this initiative. And thanks to all the other mentors who have taken out of their time to really invest in these passionate lawyers and students. Now, the truth is, just even listening to the reports or the feedback from the mentees, it's clear that already the fruits of your efforts are clearly already being seen. It's not, sometimes you invest time in mentoring and you ask yourself, are these people getting it? Is there progress being seen? But I think there is already tangible progress and tangible outputs. I'm greatly buoyed, for instance, by Bernice talking about launching her firm, and even Clarice talking about taking on a role as an IP consultant, Daniel explaining so much of his interests, Michelle and everyone who's really given their how they've taken on these lessons, and they're already implementing the lessons in their everyday. And I think this is just to congratulate you again. So thank you very much. Without taking too much time, what I'm going to do is to just mention three, or to touch on very briefly on three main things. First, I wanted to mention about leadership. And I think something that's come out from what everyone has said, and a point that I had put here as well, is that one of the biggest challenges of our society, as we do know, is leadership. And leadership is embodied in so many ways. Sometimes it's the leader that says, do as I do. Sometimes it's do as I say. But mentoring gives you an opportunity to put yourself out and say, listen, we've gone ahead, or I've taken these steps, I've learned this way, and I hold out an opportunity for you to also learn. And I think that's one of the most powerful forms of leadership that we need in our society today. And if there's anything I want to say to everyone on the call, it's just, let us not allow it to stop here. In a way, Juliana has given a platform for even greater avenues of leadership. So every single person who is graduating today, you've been empowered to also take on a leadership stride. And I'm grateful because it's not until we reach a point where we say we know everything, because there's never really a point like that. It's taking each step. And Juliana, your story is always so inspiring. You know, when you talk about learning on the way and just finding out challenges, you know, doing your song and then just not finding a way to get it out. And, you know, and it just gives an opportunity to learn. But I think in doing that, you've also said there is an opportunity here. Let me also not allow others to make the same mistakes or have to face the same challenges. And so just to say to everyone, don't look down on yourself. Don't feel you don't have enough to offer, but in your own little way, please take the next step in channeling the lessons you've learned to create awareness, opportunities for others. It may look small, it may look insignificant, but trust me, one of the key benefits of mentoring is that as mentors, you also find that you are learning yourself. Every time you're asked a question, it's an opportunity to grow. And so please hold yourselves out and expand the influence. Now, the second thing I wanted to mention is just that, and I've seen that this is one of the topics that has been covered also in the course of the mentorship time, is that as a continent, Africa is really in the need of more IP experts. And I think there's no other way to say it, but that Africa is on the tip of a point where IP is clearly on the minds of so many national governments. IP is right at the forefront of the agenda of countries. Countries are designing policies that will define the way they will look at IP for, they will contextualize IP for the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years. The Continental Free Trade Agreement, and I saw that as a topic that was also touched in your mentorship session, is also right now looking into the questions of intellectual property, harmonizing policies, harmonizing laws. And all this to say is that there is almost like a revolution that's happening across the continent in the area of IP. And I think that this mentorship session gives so much hope that there is a group of talented individuals that are being trained and given the opportunity or platforms to train others, to just make people aware and ready to take on the opportunities that will naturally come from this new wave that we're going to be seeing across the continent. Because intellectual property, like when I went through school, I finished through university, never had a topic on intellectual property. The first time I encountered intellectual property was on the master's program. And I don't think that will be the same case in the next 5 years. I think most universities across the country will all have intellectual property as a course in some way or form. And just to say that opportunities are going to be expanding across the continent because there is a wave around intellectual property. And so please, for the sake of Africa's future, let us continue to push this awareness and push this messaging across. Again, if there's any support that we can provide from the WIPO Nigeria office, we'll be extremely delighted to support you. Juliana knows that we are completely behind you and the work you're doing. And if anyone is keen to see what other opportunities they can engage with or garnish from what we're doing, please, we'll be very happy and always welcoming to hear from you. Now, the final thing I just wanted to mention, which is just a final word of admonition, is to mention that as a person, I've also greatly benefited from mentorship. And just to mention about my story is that, like I mentioned, the first time I encountered intellectual property on the master's program, a lecturer came in to the class, and a professor, he came in and he taught IP. But when I listened to him speak, there were three things that stood out about the things he said. One, he made IP understandable and relatable to everything I was saying. And I think one of the mentees here mentioned it, that IP is seen in everything. And I think that's a massive credit to the way that Juliana has structured this program, because sometimes we talk about IP as a very abstract concept that's far from our everyday reality. But sometimes you get to a point where just you're about to drink a bottle of Coke and you're seeing IP because you're seeing the labels, you're seeing the content. And then sometimes you walk into a room, you see a chair, you see a phone, and you're just seeing IP. And when IP was discussed in that class, it became so relatable. The second thing that I found from what from the person was he spoke a language that I could understand. He had come from a background like mine. He was from Ghana, by the way, but he had come from a background where no access to computers, but here he was, being able to talk and explain intellectual property at such a high level. And I was greatly inspired. The third thing that stood out was the opportunities he had seized in the place of intellectual property. And at the time, I think he was the legal counsel for WIPO. And I was just thinking, how could someone who knew nothing about intellectual property get to a point where he's standing on such a platform to discuss intellectual property? And I think it almost felt like scales were taken off my eyes. And I was like, I want to do this, because he embodied and he spoke about something that was extremely relatable, and I could see myself in that. And this is an encouragement, because we don't want to be messengers who say, you do it, talk about intellectual property, but there's nothing that people can connect with as a real sense of hope or purpose in that space. And I just want to encourage you, as you take steps forward, please keep learning, keep seizing opportunities in the space. Daniel, you said you're not billing people yet, and I'm not asking you to start billing people. But as you continue to talk to people and people are asking you questions, what you're doing is you're seizing opportunities to grow in your understanding of intellectual property to a point where your advice necessarily will require you to bill people, because you can't just attend to everyone, right? And so keep growing, keep seizing opportunities in the space, and keep expanding the influence. And that's, of course, through mentoring, right? Talking to others and not shunning people away. Michelle, is a great example. She talks so much about how just the fact that Juliana didn't close the door to her has inspired her in the space of IP. And if we can have more people that grow in the IP field, because those of us who stand as experts do not close the door, then I think we will have more passionate and a great expanse of people understanding and willing to take the directions of this continent in a positive way. And so with that, I just want to say again, thank you for inviting me to be here. I'm extremely excited with what you've done and really look forward to seeing the growth of everyone on this, all the mentees on this, and also hopefully being able to learn from the other mentors who have shared experiences in the course of this program. Thanks again, and I'll be here till the end of the program if there are any questions that anyone wants to ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toby. Thank you for such amazing advice. I'm sure that everybody has heard what he has to say, and I have something to say. He has a surprise for us because before now, I actually called him and said, can I get some materials for the mentees? And he was like, sure, sure, sure. So everybody, please get ready. When next I go to his office, I'll pick some souvenirs and I'll send it to the mentees actually. Thank you very much, sir. I am very grateful. Thank you for reading my email and for replying. Thank you, sir. So, so I'll be calling on Miss Udwak to give her own presentation. She was a mentee that sorry, she was a mentor that spoke on fashion law just last week to the mentees. Hi, Miss Udwak.
Hello to everyone, and I'm sorry that my video is not available. It's a very, very busy day for me, and but when it comes to mentorship, that always takes priority no matter what I'm doing. Everybody knows that about me. I've mentored hundreds of people on the continent, here in the States, across platforms within and outside the legal industry. You are our future. You matter absolutely to me, and you are always priority, regardless of who comes knocking. Having said that, let me touch on a few key things that the mentees have stated, and then I will sort of give my overall discussion on sort of what the future should hold. First things first, let me greet my colleagues that are in the building. For Larry, Moody, great presentation, and everybody else that I've missed or that may be just joining us. Thank you so much, Juliana, for hosting this amazing platform. People don't understand how much it takes to pour into other people. It's a very selfless act, and often not much thanks comes into it. And when you're nurturing, 99.9% of the fact is that you also need to be poured into, but people sometimes, many times, overlook the fact that you also need to be poured into. So while you're giving, sometimes you're not refilling. So Juliana, be very clear that we are here for you as well. So it's not enough for you to just pour to other people. Come to us, come to me for questions about your practice, areas you might not understand, operations of your business, etc. Because I just want to make sure you don't overlook nurturing and mentoring yourself as well. Bernice, great comment you had, and you're such a great example of a great testimonial of what happens when we pour into others. And I want to encourage you that there are two different things. It's one thing to know the substantive area of law and the things you've learned here, but now that you've hung your own shingle, be active in looking for mentorship and resources on how to practice and run a law firm. That's the next step that you really need to zoom in on, and be very, very particular about running a very efficient law firm using all kinds of tools available. If you need any resource, please reach out to me. I'm happy to pass that on to you. Some great resources out there where you can really run an amazing, efficient law firm locally in Nigeria and reach out and become a brand position for firms internationally to notice you as well. Clarice, I just wanted to underscore the comment from Juliana. What it highlighted to me was your professionalism, on time, just having the courtesy to call in advance and say, hey, I'm not going to be here, so please, be aware of that. That's the kind of professionalism that's needed, and that's going to take you really far in the business. Don't care about what other people do. Often in my space, I'm always told, especially in the African context, where we're Africans, we don't do this, we don't do that. And I say, well, it starts with one person. So maintain that professionalism regardless of what everybody else does around you. And when you're in a position of leadership, demand that from other people that you lead. Christiana, I was impressed with the comment you said about being so impressed about the mentors. They always had a response to everything and their knowledge. That's precisely the point, right? You came in saying that you knew nothing at all and you were so impressed by those who had knowledge, but guess where you are now? You have more knowledge. And the reason that is because you're always learning. This job is about learning. We never stop learning. The moment you stop learning, you're literally outdated and you don't have nothing real tangible to offer, because especially in the IP space and just fashion, entertainment, generally just IP as a whole and business, it's fluid, it's constantly changing. And with technology now that's disrupted a lot of things, you are constantly having to stay on top of things. So remember that the mentors you see who know a lot started where you were, that they knew nothing, but they constantly fill up their knowledge bank. So make sure you do that. Daniel, also, same similar thing of knowledge that you were talking about and how you're going to keep pushing yourself. It's my understanding. I mentor and I started the Nigerian Entertainment Lawyers Group some while ago. We have over 50 members. And my understanding generally is that with the law practice in Nigeria, there is no requirement for mandatory continuing legal education. That's sort of up to the lawyers to do that themselves. In the US here, that's required. We must at least have, depending on the jurisdiction, anywhere from 25 to 50 MCLE credits on a yearly basis. But I always far exceed even the basic requirement, because you have to thirst for hunger and keep going and finding the information. So Daniel, whatever limits, whether it's masters, whether it's a doctorate, further doctorate degrees, absolutely keep pushing, but always grounded in substance and practical understanding as well. And then Michelle talking about how Juliana has motivated you. That's really, really good and very important. And that takes me to the overarching points that I want to stress. Number one, I always say, regardless who I talk to, it starts and ends with identity. We're not sitting here just doing anything. Whether you are Nigerian, African, or whatever background you come from, in the final analysis, intellectual property is about our identity, who we are, and protecting our heritage, monetizing our heritage, and exporting our heritage to the world. And our ability as lawyers to understand that and preserve that culture and expand the culture and tell the stories in different ways and honor those who tell the stories is so, so important. And I think sometimes we get lost in abstract discussions on intellectual property without, as Moody was saying, grounding it in substance. Remember what this is about, because the journey will get really tough sometimes as you move along your career, especially in this particular environment you're trying to practice law. And sometimes you will question and doubt yourself, and you have to always come back to, why am I doing this? And it can't just be because I want to do analysis on IP cases or I want to hang out with the big law firms. It has to be grounded on what you bring to the table and what your heritage is about. So lean into your heritage, lean into your identity. That's always a foundation. And if you study intellectual property, that's what we're doing, really. Fashion, film, music, the arts. It's about people's cultural identity. It's about the culture, as you always hear in mainstream discussions about moving the culture, being a part of the culture, etc. Never forget that. Number two, never stop learning. Moody explained that. I've already talked about that. Never stop learning, continuous learning. Number three, always understand that you bring value to the table. My career has allowed me to be able to rub shoulders with some of the biggest names globally, whether it's celebrities or political figures, etc. And often what I see is, I've been in rooms where I've had celebrities come to me and say I should introduce them to their fellow celebrities, even though I'm not on that global level. Why is that? It's about understanding value that you bring to the table. So I may not have millions and millions of dollars, but there's something I bring to the table that someone who has millions and millions of dollars needs. So never come to the table, I don't care where you are, your background, where you come from, not understanding that you bring value to any kind of relationship, especially as a mentee. And so when you approach a mentor, it's not, please, can I pick your brain? take the time to study that mentor and figure out what they're lacking, and then go in with what you can offer to fill that space while you are in exchange getting what the value that they bring to the table as well. Because as Moody pointed out, even as mentors, we too we're constantly also being being mentees. So always bring that value. It's a difference maker, makes a difference. It's made a big difference in my career. And then finally, don't forget to continue to nurture relationships. Juliana said, oh, I will miss you. No, she's not missing you, because this is not the end of the relationship. It will stay on and continue. And then you can come back and help her with building a bigger pipeline, but the relationship never stops. This is not the end of it. It's a continuous relationship. It never quite ends. So always remember that. And of course, always come back and give back to your community and create more pipelines to help the future. It's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure, and always humble for me to be able to point to young folks and future legal minds. I'm passionate about the law, and anyone that expresses such passion always gets me excited. So thank you so much, Juliana. Thank you, mentees, and thank you, my colleagues as well, for the opportunity to all share space and pour into others. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Udwak. I think some years back, when I was trying to search for people that were very active in the IP space, that was when I saw her. And she's actually been a mentor to a lot of people in this IP space. And so when you ask this person, who is your mentor, they say, Miss Udwak. Who is your mentor, Miss Udwak? Who's your mentor, Miss Udwak? So I was like, wow, like I must have her here. And thank you so much for reading my Instagram message and for saying yes to come and talk to everyone, including myself. Thank you so much. So I'll be calling on Maria Koval. Okay, yes, I'll be calling on her. She actually spoke to us about dispute resolution with WIPO. So thank you very much, Maria. Good to see you.
Thanks.
And your voice.
Good to see you too, yes. Good evening, everyone. And thank you, special thank you, Juliana, for invitation for this interesting internship program. And I believe that this program was very helpful for mentees, to whom I thank you very much for their active participation during my presentation. There were so many questions regarding the topic of uniform dispute resolution procedure with the WIPO. So as I understood that the topic was very interesting and new for the mentees, and I hope that it was indeed helpful. And I think that in general, that the sphere of intellectual property law is the most interesting sphere of law, and I believe that all mentees will deep their knowledge in this sphere. And as the previous mentors already mentioned, that intellectual property is so special sphere in which so many new technologies is created every day, and so many new innovations, for example. And we have the changes every day and every month and every year. So I think that all professionals in this sphere should not stop to get new knowledge and to participate in many internship programs. So I believe that my program, so we have some. My topic was very interesting and helpful for all mentees. Thank you very much again. I hope that this internship program gave the opportunity to gain new industry insights and knowledge. And it was like a chance for mentees to access to the network with professionals in this intellectual property sphere. And that is very important in the beginning of a career connected with intellectual property. So I wish you good luck. And I think that you should take many efforts to be a professional in this sphere, but don't stop. develop your skills every day and constantly and permanently. And I think that the knowledge received during this internship program was very helpful for you in the best way. And I wish you all to become real professionals in this sphere. So thank you again, Juliana. I hope that my approach to the, for example, to the WIPO uniform procedure was very helpful for everyone because it's very interesting topic in the intellectual property. So I think that it was, I believe that it was interesting and very helpful for everyone, for every participant. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Maria. Mr. Max actually did the introduction, and I'm so grateful that you actually accepted to be here. Thank you so much. Slides for her presentation, and her slides are still available. So if anybody needs her slide to understand alternative dispute resolution with the World Intellectual Property Organization, please reach out to me and I'll forward her slides to you. So I'll be calling on Mr. Joseph to just give a short presentation, and then I'll be calling Mr. Folarin next.
Hello everyone. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. I wouldn't say I was an accidental anchor for Jiipcc mentorship program, but I had the opportunity of interviewing my.
I think you're having
some sound issues, right?
Yeah.
I guess I'm echoing as well.
Can you hear him? Okay. Maybe you log in from another device and then you try again. Thank you. So let's call on our next speaker, Mr. Folarin. Before he speaks, I would even just like to say a few words. Mr. Folarin is someone that everybody would want to meet at one point or the other in their life. He has been very helpful, extremely helpful. And if you have like 3 of Mr. Folarin in your life, like a lot of things will be settled. So when you are praying, you'll be praying like, oh God, give me this, give me this. Oh Lord, give me 3 Mr. Folarins, something like that. So Mr. Folarin, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. I think you just gave me a new prayer point, Juliana. Which I'll be asking for 3 Mr. Folarins. Good evening, everyone. I must say a very big congratulations to you, Juliana. This is a very fantastic way to, to end the session. It's a great climax to a very interesting journey. I would also like to say a big thank you to other facilitators, my Oga at the top, Alagba Toby, Mr. Moody, or Alhaji Toby, as she's presenting today, Mr. Max, Ms. Udwak, very, very, very good to see you and to be on the call with you. And I think most importantly, Miss Koval as well. And then most importantly, the mentees, Bernice, who I've had the opportunity of interacting with in 1 or 2 other forums, and Daniel, Clarice, and everyone. I must say a big congratulations. I think you are the VIPs today. And I don't know if I can add anything to what everyone else has said. Fantastic advice. I can assure you that I have taken everything to heart, from Juliana to Mr. Moody at the keynote, to Ms. Udwak, Ms. Koval. All that advice is words on marble. I would say, please take it down and hold on to it. I would say I like this format. I think about 10 years ago, just as recently as maybe, 5 to 10 years ago, it would be difficult, In fact, you would be hard pressed to find a format like this. But I'm quite excited that today, we have something like this. I know Mr. Moody too has done something on. There's an internship platform that he was very gracious enough to start through WIPO. So I'm quite glad that we have these interventions. Of course, what it means is that probably in the next 3 to 5 years, the conversations around IP in Africa or in Nigeria will start to change, and perhaps we will not end up saying the same thing that we've been saying for the past 30 years. In the early 90s, I read an article where the writer said IP is nascent in Nigeria. In the early 2000s, I read an article in the newspaper. It said IP is new, is nascent. In 2010, or thereabouts, I attended the training for judges at Transcorp Hilton, and the speaker said IP is nascent, is new in Nigeria. And then last year, I had a meeting with the head of a court. Juliana was at that meeting, I think. And the head of court said IP, IP is new, is nascent. And I was like, oh my gosh, every decade there seems to be a realization that IP is nascent. But I think with interventions like this, that's mindset to become a thing of the past. So I would say congratulations to all the mentees. Thank you very much, Juliana. Please, everything the process is almost as important as the outcome, and success is not an outcome in itself. It's the journey, and you've come to the end of one journey. But as Ms. Udwak said, it's not the end of learning. It's not the end of your IP journey. It's just a what you may call a roadmark, in the process of your development as a lawyer. So my door is always open, and I enjoyed myself. I loved listening to all the various angles and points of view that were presented during the weekly presentations. Once again, I would say you guys should keep it up. Please build on it, and the world is yours for the taking. So congratulations to everybody once again. Congratulations, Juliana. You must feel very proud. And congratulations to Jiipcc. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Polarin. Thank you for always finding time to support me and to support the projects that I bring up. Thank you, sir, and God bless you. And we'll be calling finally on Mr. Max. Mr. Max was introduced to me by, I think, Rita, when I reached out to her for something, and she was like, I should reach out to Mr. Max. And I reached out to him, and ever since then, he has been very, very helpful, extremely helpful. He is a giver. You know that some people that are givers and some are takers. He's a giver. And thank you so much, sir. So you have the floor, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much, Juliana. And it's such a privilege to be here again this evening. Apologies, I just did a road trip. I'm just arriving in Benue. So I'll just allow you to have a flash at my face before I turn off my camera.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's excellent to see that we have come to the end of. Oh, same here. It's nice to see we are at the end of the session for this mentorship. And so I congratulate all the mentees. I think you're starting on a solid footing. For anyone who really wants to get started in the IP space, this is really a good way to get started. Even as supposedly a mentor in this program, I believe I've also been a mentee, to a large extent in this program. I've had the opportunity through this program to meet a lot of people. Miss Udwak, for instance, someone I've heard a lot about. So this has been for me also an opportunity to actually get connected to her. I've heard a lot about her work in the IP space, in the fashion space as well. So a huge. So for the mentees, I want to just let you know that the one of the greatest things you are getting out of this program beyond the knowledge is actually the contact you are getting with people like Mr. Folarin, people like Toby Moody, of course, who is a powerhouse in IP and it's really at the top, at the highest levels of IP you can think of. So with those kinds of connections, I think you are really getting yourself set up to start a career in IP. And then I also want to mention something about timing. For most of you are getting into IP at a very crucial time in the life cycle of IP as a phenomenon. The reason is that IP actually thrives on the back of economic activity. So during the industrial revolutions and the earlier, revolutions in business and commerce, for instance, the .com era, IP typically has an upsurge at those times. So we are witnessing, a new rise in fintech and then economic, electronic commerce. Again, issues about IP and putting a spotlight on IP. What happens essentially is that after a while, it's not like IP loses relevance, but those markets stabilize. So IP is not emphasized too greatly anymore. So, for instance, with trademarks, during the industrial revolution, with the booming mass manufacture of goods, particularly, trademarks were very prominent. But after a while, it kind of plateaus out. So it looks like it's not very relevant anymore. Not that they are stopped being relevant, but the markets have matured. Same thing also with the printing press and copyright as an aspect of IP. So what we are seeing now is that the IP aspect related to the digital economy have a new emphasis on them. So you are stepping into the market at the time where there's a high for IP. So it's really the time for you to really key in and pursue your career in IP. I would also advise you from my own experience. My IP practice was a time actually maybe 5-6 years ago I thought of shutting down the IP practice in my law firm because it wasn't really profitable. What happened was that we're doing a lot of work with SMEs. And of course, if you work with SMEs, sometimes getting them to pay your bills can be quite difficult. But what has happened over time is that what that has helped me to do is through the opportunity I've had working with SMEs, I've been forced to really take my IP practice a notch higher. And gradually, as I get higher paying clients, then I don't have to go back all the way. I just pick up what I've done before, dust it up, and I'm able to offer it at the drop of a hat to a higher network client. So I would encourage you, start at that level, begin to work with SMEs. One of the things this mentorship has done for you when all the while I've read through your assignments, and I think I'll thank Juliana for that, is the idea of always simplifying IP concepts. For SMEs, they really don't get the whole thing about IP. And more often than not, when they try to read up on IP, it's a little bit too high level for them. But one of the things I think this mentorship has set you up for is to be able to break down IP. And you have looked at IP not just from the formal part, you have looked at IP in industry. So I remember presentations on IP in the fashion industry, IP in the different segments of business. So what it means is that you are able to bring IP to life practically for the SME in terms of their own business, which is what businesses need. So I'll just encourage you, take that approach, build gradually. It won't take too long, like I said before, you get to the top in IP. And then, of course, keep in touch. Please chat me up on LinkedIn. It will always be a delight to be in touch with you guys. And, of course, chat up the other mentors as well. That's the opportunity that this mentorship has brought. And for Juliana, thank you so much for putting this together. I came supposedly as a mentor, but I've learned a lot. I've also myself been mentored through this process. I appreciate it, and it's been a delight. Thank you. And, of course, thanks to Maria Koval. Always a delight to see you. It's a pleasure to see you. Thank you all, and I wish you all the best as you go into the IP world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. I am so grateful. Thank you for even speaking to us while you are on the road. Thank you so much for being so sacrificial. Mr. Joseph is having some technical issues, but he's also a legal practitioner. He's an ICT lawyer, and he stepped in to anchor the program while I was away. So I want to say a very big thank you to Mr. Joseph also. Thank you to everyone that has been there. Thank you for every time that you logged in. Thank you for always submitting your assignments. Clarice, Michelle, Bernice, Daniel, Christina, Tony, and Tolu. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for mentors. Thank you, Maria. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you, Mr. Folarin. Thank you, Mr. Max. Thank you, Maria. There's also someone that took sports law. I'm trying to get his name. I can't remember right now. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Moody. Thank you for saying yes to come and speak to us. And thank you for the souvenir that I'll be picking up later. Thank you, Nosa. Thank you, Stallion Legal. So this is the end of the first quarter of the internship and mentorship program. The second quarter will be, the second program will be starting on the 16th of April. We already have 8 mentees that have signed up to it, and we want to still keep it small so that we can still take the assignments and listen to them. So it will just stop at 8 or highest, let's say 10, so that we do not overburden ourselves. Thank you, Ms. Udwak. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone that has listened to our request at one point or the other and have said yes to us. So I'll be unmuting everybody just in case you want to say something or you just want to say bye, because we're going to be logging out right now. So thank you. This is a 12 weeks program. So the next program will still be for 12 weeks, and hopefully we'll be done after 12 weeks. So thank you, everyone. God bless you all. Take care of yourself and keep reaching out. You can send us messages on any social platform or through my email. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Mr. Max. Thank you, Mr. Folarin. Bye, Bernice. Thank you. Thank you, Clarice. Thank you, Nosa. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Michelle. Nosa, it's so good to see your face.
Doing great, Papa. I'm loving what you're doing.
Thank you so much. You're also doing a lot, and I see what you do, and I appreciate you sincerely.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye. Okay. Bye, Clarice. Bye, Daniel. Bye, Bernice.
Hey, thank you.
Bye, Mr. Mark.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you, sir. Have a safe safe trip. Bye. Bye, Bernice.
Bye.
Bye, Daniel.